Hello and welcome back to the Spider-Man limited set review. In this video, I will be discussing all of the red cards and how good I think they're going to be in mostly draft, but stuff is applicable to sealed as well. If you haven't been to one of my set reviews before, 5 tiers to evaluate the cards. Tier 1 is the best, Tier 5 is the worst, loosely based around where I would expect to take the cards in the draft. As you can see, sort of a draft focused set review, but sealed again, it's all limited, baby. And sealed, as much as is it maybe a dying format, even though every premiere event has to be done in it because of logistical reasons. Uh, that's the world in which we live. Anyway, with that caveat out of the way, I'm going to begin with Angry Rabble. 1 on a red, 2/2 trample. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Pay 5 in a red to put 2+1/+1 counters on it. Activate only as a sorcery. I don't love this, but it is kind of a 2-drop, and it like pings stuff, and the form. I think this is like fine. Like I don't. Am I excited about this? No. Does it like do something? Yes. I do kind of feel like this format, like having looked at it more and more, I'm kind of like, man, there's like a lot of like we could really be in game states where paying 6 mana to put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature like could be a thing that's happening. Like this format to me seems lower on the power scale. The 2 drops are all pretty medium to bad. This one has trample. I don't know. I don't love it. I do think the pinging for 4 is kind of whatever. I don't know. This is not exciting. I'm gonna be 100% honest. It's not exciting, and I should probably move it to tier 4. So I'm just gonna do that. It's funny, like almost all of the common 2 drops. You look at like a year ago, and all the common 2 drops would be like tier 3 or tier 2, and Wizards has like notably powered them down because of complaints about format speed from certain individuals. And now it's just like every format, all the common 2s just suck, and it's like what, like you know what I mean? Like you look at last year, the raccoon from Bloomborough that I forget the name of. That was just like, oh, this is automatic slam dunk, one of the best commons in the set. We don't like get that anymore at 2. So it's just interesting. It's just an interesting note about the direction that limited is heading. Electro Assaulting Battery. 1 red for a 2/3 with flying. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Whenever you cast an instant and sorcery spell or sorcery spell, add a red. Whenever Electro leaves the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, it deals X damage to target player. Yeah, I mean, this is just 3 mana, 2/3 flying, obviously, double pipped. But making all your instant and sorcery spells give you mana back, pretty good, solid. Uh, Tier 2 is a little aggressive given the mana cost, but it is going to be pretty good, I think. Shock is in the set, you saw that at the top. There's a decent number of instant and sorcery spells you're going to be casting in red. I think this is fine. Electro's Bolt. 2 in a red sorcery. It does 4 damage to target creature, and it has mayhem for 1 in a red. I like this quite a bit, actually. There are a lot of ways to enable mayhem. 2 mana deal 4 at sorcery speed is pretty good. That's going to be happening on turn 4. You don't usually need that on turns 1 and 2. Like you don't usually need it early in the game, right? Like the 2 mana deal 4 is always good, but is kind of like whatever. And this one has a buyout that you can actually cast, and it's, Bombard was terrible, but, it wasn't so bad that it was losing you the game. It just kind of didn't do anything. This is Bombard with, I think, considerable upside, uh, despite not being an instant. Gwen Stacy, 1 on a red for a 2/1. When it enters, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as you control this creature. And it has 2 blue, red, white to transform into a 4/4 with flying, vigilance, and haste. Pretty good. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Remove 2 counters from this creature. Exile the top card of your library and play that card this turn. So yeah, I mean this is just a good 2-drop that flips into another big thing. Like you absolutely do not need to be able to flip this. It's probably advisable to play a land or 2 of a color to flip it. yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. It's a good 2-drop that flips into a good value creature that also provides damage. So Heroes Hangout, single red for sorcery. Choose one. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until the next end of your next turn. You may play that card, or 1 or 2 target creatures each get +1/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn. So you get to either cycle this, but it's like better than cycling slightly, um, or you get a really bad combat trick. That is not really a trick because it's a sorcery. If this was an instant, I'd be like, oh, I'm actually in. But unfortunately, we don't live in that reality. We're living in this reality where this is a sorcery and is basically unplayable. Hobgoblin, Mantled Marauder. 1 red for a 1/2 with flying and haste. Whenever you discard a card, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So this seems fine. There are ways to discard things. It's a 2-mana 1/2 flyer. Sometimes it attacks as a 3/2. Cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. It can stack. It can grow pretty big. I don't think this is amazing. You're all in on doing mayhem stuff. I mean, it's another mayhem reward, but the reward is usually that you're doing the mayhem thing. So, yeah. J. Jonah Jameson, a 2 and a red for a 2/2. When it enters, suspect up to one target creature. Suspect making an appearance in this set. I kind of like that. I don't know. I like suspect as a mechanic. I kind of hope they use it more. This kind of played well. Anyway, whenever a creature you control with menace attacks, create a treasure token. So on turn 3, you can play this suspect your 2-drop, and then you get a treasure token when it attacks. Or you can suspect your opponent's creature later, and it can't block. I just kind of like this thing. I don't love it. The rate is pretty bad. If you think about it as 3-mana 2/2, make a treasure, suspect something, which is kind of what it is, that's sort of okay. It's like fine. I don't love it. Treasures are valuable, and like, treasures are more valuable. We have, if you have like those mythics that flip, right? Like the third color is a thing. This is rare. I don't love it, but I don't think it's horrible either. You kind of need to be making like 2 treasures with it for it to be decent. Like we had the 2/3 from Wilds of Eldraine that just made a treasure with an ETB. This is about as good as that thing is. Maybe like it's going to be situationally better or worse, but about the same on average. Masked Meower. Single red for a 1/1 with haste. You can discard a card and sacrifice this creature to draw a card. Yeah, I mean we've seen something like this in Shadows of Innistrad Remastered, and I don't know which set it was in before that, but the 1-mana vampire. Now that thing had like first strike, I think, and you could vampire. I think it was neonate. Maybe it's just exactly the same card. Let me just look this up really quick. Okay, I remembered mostly correctly. It has menace. Um, the thing about Insolent Neonate is that the menace is actually a better effect to have on this creature than the haste. I think it's probably close. They're pretty similar. Uh, I do think you could make the argument that like Insolent Neonate was fine, but not amazing. This is going to be fine, but not amazing. You'll probably play a copy or two, maybe, in your decks that want it. I do still think I would rather have Menace than Paste, but it's close to a wash, I think. Yeah. Maximum Carnage, 4 and a red for a Saga. Chapter 1. Until your next turn, each creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. 2, add 3 red mana, and then Chapter 3, it deals 5 damage to each opponent. So don't play this on your first main phase, just a note. Don't do that, because then you may lose all your creatures. Somebody's going to do it at some point. That first ability is usually quite good, like forcing all your opponents or creatures to attack you. But it's kind of like not great when it is 5 mana, and then the rest of the saga just does like almost nothing. Uh, I don't know. I like this is just not the Akroan War, right? Like it's just so much worse than the Akroan War. The fact that it's like you just have to have a board already. I mean, no, while we're looking up cards. So yeah, it's not the Akroan War. The Akroan War, obviously, this card was like one of the best cards in Theros Beyond Death. Theros Beyond Death was also a very slow format, but like everything about this card is worse than the Akroan War. So yeah, it's not good. I don't think. Probably, maybe. Molten Man Inferno Incarnate. 2 and a red for a 0/0. When it enters, search your library for a basic mountain card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle, and it gets +1/+1 for each mountain you control, and when it leaves the battlefield, sacrifice a land. So, you need to have at least 3 mountains in play for this to be a 4/4, which is what you need it to be for it to be playable. Uh, yeah, this is only a mono red card. I do think in mono red it's decent. It thins your deck out, and you get a 4/4 basically for free, so pretty good in mono red. In non mono red decks, though, it's not very good. Raging Goblinoids. 4 and a red for a 5/4 with haste, then Mayhem for 2 and a red. Yep, this is fine. Oh, ooh, it does have haste. You know, now that I think about this, you are getting a good deal on the Mayhem. There are enablers. I think there are enough enablers that Mayhem is going to be a mechanic that works. Um, Technically, you get this out on 4 with the 1 mana removal spell. Yeah, I'm going to move it up to tier 3. Yeah, I believe it's got haste. It's big. Romantic Rendezvous. 1 red for sorcery. Discard a card, then draw 2 cards. So it's Tormenting Voice. The nerfed version that isn't an instant. I mean, again, the Mayhem enabling is good. The fact that it's a source, like the card on its own, like you need to be doing Mayhem stuff for this to work. That's half of Red's decks are going to be Mayhem decks. Because you can only really, you know what I mean? So it's going to be tough to not draft the color pairs that are actually supported instead of the ones that aren't. There's really only going to be like 5 decks in this format, so we'll see. Shadow of the Goblin. 1 red enchantment. At the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. I kind of like this. I mean, there's a lot of Mayhem stuff going on. This enables it by itself, and it starts pinging your opponent, and there's nothing they can do about it. It does, the one thing about it does do nothing on turn 2. I think I should move it up, though. I think this is real. There's almost no way to blow up enchantments, like, at all in the set. So, like, I think this is just going to be on the battlefield for the rest of the game, and it's going to be getting your opponent, like, you value, and, worst case scenario, I think this is actually sick, yeah. I think this is actually really good. Shock. Single red, 2 damage to any target. Yeah, it's going to be fine. A lot of all the 2-drops in the set, as I've said, are bad and 2/2s, so this kills all of those. It's shock, it's going to be fine. It's not going to be amazing, but it's going to be fine. Shocker. Unshakable. 4 red for a 5/5. During your turn, it has a first strike. It's also a villain. When it enters, it deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. Yeah, I mean, I like this, right? You're getting a 5/5 for 6, which isn't great. That deals 2 to something when it ETBs, which is kind of whatever. Is it amazing? No. But, like, for this set, it kind of feels like that's good. Getting 2 upstairs is quite nice. So, yeah, I like it. Maybe a little aggressive, giving a 6-drop with minor ETBs, tier 2 rating. But I do think it's good. Spider-Gwen, Free Spirit. 2 and a red for a 2/3 with reach. Whenever it becomes tapped, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Yeah, I hate this. It just doesn't really fit anywhere, right? Like, you can't really attack with it ever, realistically. And so it's never becoming tapped. And then the Mayhem deck doesn't really want this, because it just kind of sits there and just does nothing. So, I don't know, I don't love this. I think it's pretty bad. Doesn't block's okay, but even then, yeah, not excited about this one. Spider Islanders, 3 in a red for a 4/3 with Mayhem for 1 in a red. Again, if you're in, like if you have the stuff, if you have that rare that we just saw, if you have other like good value Mayhem enablers, this thing's going to be good. I mean, good is a strong word, but it'll be playable. It'll be a card you can play. If you go out of your way to make sure you have all the stuff set up for this infrastructure, this card will work for you. That is the best thing I can say about it. Spider Punk, 1 in a red for a 2/1 with Riot. Other spiders you control have Riot. Spells and abilities can't be countered, damage can't be prevented. So this is either a 2/2, 2/1 with haste, or a 3/2. Pretty good as a 2-drop. And you give all your other spiders Riot, which is really nice. So this is just a good 2-drop, and there's other effects that don't really matter that much for limited. Spider-Verse, 3 red for an enchantment. The legend rule doesn't apply to spiders you control. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste. Do this only once each turn. So obviously it works with Mayhem. There are other things it works with. I think, unfortunately, it is too bad to spend 5 mana to do nothing that this is a bad card. Technically, like, would I try to make this work and have it be fun? Yeah, I mean, like, we've had effects like this. Sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. The times that they work, usually it's like, okay, I'm going to take turn 4 off, and then turn 5, I can do the thing. This one, you have to take turn 5 off, and then turn 6, you can maybe do the thing. That's a lot worse. And it requires more setup up front to even work in the first place. Like the Outlaw one from OTJ, there were a lot of Outlaws. And there's a lot of ways to like get Mayhem stuff, but you have to have the Mayhem thing, you have to have the discard outlet. There are exile spells as well, but not as much. Like Mayhem is really the thing that you're mostly doing with this. And again, right, the first copy is okay. The second copy is where it becomes good, so you need to do it twice. I don't really think this is a thing. Spinneret and Spiderling. Single red for a 1/2. When you attack with 2 or more spiders, put a ++1 counter on it. Whenever it deals 4 or more damage, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So with any combat tricks or anything like that, you can pump it and still have it work. You're not really attacking with 2 or more spiders, like ever. It's like almost never happening, but it could happen. Sometimes. I don't think this is especially great as a rare. I think it's okay. Yeah, I'm more on the bad side than the good of this card. I honestly, you could even convince me to move it down, and I probably should just move it down. But like, I don't know, I'm enticed by the being able to, if it's power forward, but there's not that many ways to pump its power. There just aren't that many. It is a 1 mana creature that has some value with like web slinging stuff, although red doesn't really care about that. That is kind of a thing, though. I'll leave it in tier 3. Strigon the Dinosaur Man. 4 no red for a 5/4 with menace. It has 1 in a red to discard it, and until end of turn, target creature you control gets +2/+1 and becomes an additional, or dinosaur in addition to its other types. We've had this before in Neon Dynasty. It was an artifact that was a 6/4 boar that did the same thing, that had haste. This is, I think, worse than that card because it does not have haste. It has menace instead and is 5 mana for a 5/4. It's similar to that card. That boar was a sort of a key. It wasn't a key card in mono red, but it was a card you could play in mono red if mono red exists in this set, which it actually kind of looks like it does. This could be a card for that deck, but it sort of remains to be seen for the time being. I think it's just a 5-drop. It's a 5-drop. Superior Foes of Spider-Man, 2 and a red for a 3/3 with trample. Whenever you cast a spell of mana value 4 or greater, you may exile the top card of your library. If you do, you may play that card until you exile another card with this creature. I feel like I'm being way too harsh on this card by putting it in tier 4. Like, this is fine. It's also a villain. It does, like, maybe draw cards eventually. Yeah, I'm being too harsh. So I've decided not to be too harsh anymore. I think it's still not amazing. It's a 3-mana 3/3 trample. That does nothing when it ETBs. But I think it's fine. Taxi Driver. 1 in a red for a 3/1 that you can pay 1 and tap to give target creature haste until end of turn. Not really amazing. There are, being able to tap your own creature has some merit in this set with web slinging. So that's something. But it sort of defeats the point when you have to pay the extra mana. And again, that's not really a red thing. That's more of a green-white thing. Red-green is a deck, but is it though? But is it though? You be the judge. I don't think I might believe that it's not. The last red card is Wisecrack. 2 in a red instant. Target creature deals damage equal to its power to itself. If that creature is attacking, it deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. A little bit of incidental face damage. We just had this in the last set, except it doubled damage to flyers. There actually were a lot of flyers that was relevant for, but not, not so many that I think this little 2 damage to the upstairs is not going to be worth it. I don't know. I think this is fine. Fine removal spell. I don't think it's exciting. I do think it's maybe worse than Shock and maybe better than Shock, and you could convince me either way. And that's why it's in the same tier as Shock. But yeah, that is that's it. That's it for Red. Again, short and sweet with these set reviews. It's a very small set. We will see how that plays and whether or not I get sick of it in 2 weeks. Might happen. Might happen. More likely than you'd think. All right. Check out the other set reviews. See ya.